How you doing? So my name is Antoine Person. I own a company called Skillful Brands, and we help new entrepreneurs start and manage their business. So I've been in business for a while, but when I initially started, I really didn't have any boundaries. I didn't have any boundaries for myself. I didn't have any boundaries for my partners, which led over to me actually struggling in my business. As I transitioned and got more experience, I realized that I needed to set boundaries for myself and definitely for my employees as well.
Thank you. I'm Jessica Dugas. I am the creator of the Breakthrough Show Network, and I have been in the realm of content creation and moving into really helping people have experiences and giving their audience experiences through the content that they create now. And I had zero boundaries, and because I realized through my own personal exploration of it that I boundaries aren't really comfortable for me. I don't like being in a box. I don't like being told, you can't do this, that, or whatever. And so I thought, if I'll be the cool one. I'll be like, you could do whatever you want, but ultimately that creates chaos for both yourself and the people that you're trying to lead. So now we have boundaries and it's much better.
Hello, everybody. My name is Monique MacArthur. My business is called Melanin Monarchy. Basically, I help artists and venues transform live events into unbelievable and unforgettable experiences. I am the concert expert, the live event expert, and what I do is I educate audiences and also content creation. I educate people in that. And I give the people that I help create a strategic insight that enhance the way people connect with their performance and artistry. I'm also a writer and producer of short films, independent films. The boundary question, this is going to be interesting because my issue was I could not define boundaries. So I'm still in the process of defining what boundaries are for me and what boundaries are for Melanin Monarchy. So yeah, so again, this is a journey for me. This is still a process, and I'm doing the boundary thing as I go because I need to make sure that that definition is clear, and I don't think that I have it clear yet. Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer Cairns. I'm the founder of We Were Magazine, Lady Rebel Club, and Our Rebel World. And in a nutshell, everything that we do in that space is about creating opportunities for marginalized entrepreneurs to basically grow their business and make an impact. And we do it using campaigns, advocacy, media, immersive spaces, and tech. I also, on the side and on my free time, Peggy laughs, um, run workshops and things like that around what I call a message to believe in, which is all about helping individuals transition from the personal to the movement and creating that key mindset to transition, but also everything that needs to shift in your business and in your messaging. And then also around collaboration, so helping entrepreneurs and founders who have no audience, network, or money really grow their business through win-win collaborations and boundaries. Can we go negative numbers here? like way when I started. Yeah, like I don't think I even knew what a boundary was, other than perhaps maybe from experience of playing sports. So yeah, it was abysmal. I think is the best word to sum it up.
So I will start. I would say probably the biggest boundary for me was setting a time management boundary, because I feel like when I first started my business, I kind of neglected family time because I was so focused on building my business. And now that I look back on that, I kind of jeopardized, trying to get a business together that I felt would uh, ultimately benefit my family. But it actually took a lot of time away from, me actually doing things with my family.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The time management was huge for me. I am, for anybody that's not aware, I'm a homeschool mom of 6 children, and so um, time management is a big deal around here. A big deal to make sure that everyone is taken care of in the way that they need to be taken care of. School, work, meals, extracurriculars, all of these things, right? But I also one of the biggest things for me was about more of an internal thing of not taking on emotional responsibility for everybody else's experience. I think a lot of us can relate to this idea of wanting to be of service. I don't know a lot of entrepreneurs that get into it and go, I don't care about other people. I think a lot of us want to be of service and we want to help. And I think as we're doing that, it can be really easy to take on, in this effort of wanting to help, to take on the responsibility of other people. And so as you were talking about the sort of difference, I guess, between boundaries and rules, I think that rules are part of boundaries. And there has to be some rules in place of, this is my responsibility, this is your responsibility, and trying to separate between those two things.
Yeah, I didn't know Jennifer wanted to go before me, but one of the things that I wish that I would have learned before I stepped into this is it's okay to not jump. Like it's okay to wait to say yes or wait to say no, and so I had to establish like a 24-hour. Sometimes it is just a yes, like an immediate yes, and sometimes it's an immediate no. But it's okay to wait. I wish that somebody said that I should never feel pressured to give a quick answer.
Yeah, so something I try, I'm not always right, but I try to live by now is being respectfully selfish. And that's not a negative. It's kind of like the concept of your oxygen mask, right? So if you don't put your own mask on, you can't serve your family, you can't serve your customers, your audience, your community, anything really. Your business will slowly start to crumble or not take off. So that was a really hard one for me to learn, that I could be respectfully selfish in the way of, like, I didn't have to say yes to everyone who wanted to have a call with me if there wasn't real alignment. I didn't have to say yes to every project, that was put in front of me, or every client, by the way. Not every client is maybe going to be aligned with you as well. Um, so whatever it was, that I would sort of, as Monique was saying, able to sort of give myself the time and space to go, right, how is this aligned? How, is it something that really fits in with what I'm working on now, with the projects that I have on, with the goals that I have, the intentions that I have, or not? And do I have bandwidth for it? So yeah, being able to sort of step back and apply that thinking. I wish I had that a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on what Jennifer was saying is that I don't think that I've been in my business for as long as the rest of you guys. But one of the things is that you tell people, hey, this is what you're doing, and people that want to help you. And then because I think a lot of it was insecurity that I would just like kind of figure that I'm accepting their help by taking on whatever they're asking me to take on or whatever they think that I should, when it was not what I wanted to do at all, or was not where I wanted to be at all. And it was spaces that Melanin Monarchy should not be. Like I had to separate Monique from Melanin Monarchy, and Melanin Monarchy just should not at that stage should not be in those spaces. And so I didn't know how to communicate that. And so what people were like, oh, well, you could do this and you can do that and be here. And I would go, yay, because I was so new and so hungry that, and then you get in there and you're like, I shouldn't be here. This is not for my business at all, so.
Yeah.
I will say yes. So I think boundaries that I've set probably have cost me partnerships, but I look at it as those partnerships probably weren't the right opportunities for me. So yes, partnerships, and it just cost me the headache, right? Because I feel if I'd have got into a partnership with them, it would have been like headaches that I did not want.
I agree. Well, I would say this, there's been plenty of boundaries that I've set over the years. I agree with what Monique said earlier, which is that I feel like I'm still kind of growing and learning where boundaries are concerned. And you sometimes you don't know that something needs to be a boundary until you experience it and then go, oh no, that will not be happening ever again, ever again. And so there's been times when that sort of thing has happened and I've had to create new guidelines, or I've had to check myself in the moment. And I think in general, human beings aren't a big fan of change. And so even if something doesn't impact someone in a negative way, it can make people uncomfortable to experience change. And so when I create these new boundaries, I sort of pride myself on communicating those things and saying, this is what's changing, this is what we're doing now. And people get to make the decision, like Antoine was talking about, if that doesn't fit in their world, with how they operate. And so in the moment, it feels devastating. It feels like, how could they not want to work with me? Like I really was excited, or whatever else. But then on reflection, again, like Antoine was saying, you kind of go, maybe I dodged a bullet there. Maybe this wasn't the opportunity meant for me. Maybe it wasn't going to be a great partnership. So I sort of tell people all the time, if something might feel really bad in the moment when you lose that client or that partner, or even a friend, because you've had to create a boundary, that in time, hopefully we get to that point where we can look back and go, you know what, that was for the best.
I had an opportunity. I worked on a couple of films with some people here in San Diego. And at the conclusion of one of those projects, one of the producers came up to me and she was like, she wanted me to come over to her house and, she or where she was staying at, and it seemed like she was being way more friendly to me than she was on set, like way, way more friendly. And then she started saying things like, oh, we're going to be working on part 2 of this TV series that we're working on, and we want you to be involved in that. And I know you weren't doing your wheelhouse, what you normally do, because I was doing set design or whatever on this project. And they're like, oh, she was like, I know it's we want, but if you come along with us this next time, then maybe in the future we can go ahead and see about getting you writing and producing and things like that. And I'm listening to her, and everything in me was just like creepy crawly. Like I'm just like, it did not feel genuine at all. It just kind of felt like, I saw how hard you work. I want to keep people who work hard, even though I'm not going to really recognize you or reward you. And then I just don't like working with mean people. And now I think that's the thing, is that I had I said, well, let me kind of think about it. And the bad thing is that I never got back to her, because it was really a no. And it was the real reason is I don't like mean people. And if I see everybody, I give everybody a moment, because I have kids, so I have my moments. But if I don't see that you've made amends, but if you embarrass a crew member, and you don't ever like make up for it, or they're tiptoeing around you, it's a no for me. It is, because we were working 12-hour days. And if you don't treat your crew well, you're at least not feeding them, or you feel like, well, I fed you, or you're getting paid, so you're okay. I'm like, no, you don't need to be mean to somebody, or I just don't like working with mean people. So it was a loss, because I see that group of people, and they're still working in San Diego, and I have not worked on an independent project in a few years now. So that did cost me, but it would be the same. I would never change it, because I refuse to work with mean people. I refuse to work with people who are disrespectful. I refuse to work with people. We're human beings. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And frankly, I don't feel like anybody is above the line. I really don't. I don't feel like anybody is above the line. You may be above the line, according to studio and whatnot, but really we're all here to do a job. We're all here to work and make this thing come together and be successful. So you don't have, from the PA to the people who going out to get the food, or whatever the case may be, or the security, or people who putting out cones, or telling you where you need to park at. No, don't park over here, park over there, because the neighborhood is gonna, get on us. Whatever the case may be, I appreciate everybody, because none of us have to be there. We don't have to be there. And so that cost me, and it looks like it's still costing me. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. But thank you for bringing up that memory, because I completely forgot.
Yeah, and it's funny, Monique, because I think just off the back of what you said there quickly, it's is it worth it, right? So is it worth it? What could be the cost of this, and is it worth it? So if you're looking at like the values that you have and where your boundaries were, yeah, it may have cost you in one aspect, but it was worth it to you, right? Like you're saying in the other aspects. So it's always kind of weighing that up. And for us, it was like a huge and it was a very scary, to be quite transparent, decision that I had to make around a boundary, because we are very strict with our value system, and it's core of everything that we do, right? Not just mine personally, but at work. And we had a huge partner the first year of the magazine, huge, and 2 million on their email list, and they wouldn't put a snippet that we wanted, that needed to be in the language that it needed to be in, to talk about the magazine, and they refused. So we pulled the partnership. And I almost cried, right? So I was like, oh my goodness, like this is 2 million. So all of a sudden, then our reach went from like 2,000 and 2 million and 2,000 to 2,000, right, within one issue. But sticking to that and really adhering to that value set now has us working with partners who have like 100 million in their audience, to be honest. So that same value set 2 years later, it's taken a while, but the partners that we have developed during that time, they see how strong we are with that value set. It's helped us build trust with our community. It's helped other partnerships and collaborations come. So being clear on that boundary, being clear on those value sets and where your boundaries sit along those, yeah, it can be scary and it can cost you maybe long term, but short term, but is it worth it? That's always the key question I suppose to ask yourself.
I would say for me, that's actually been a challenge. So I was previously, I think last year, 2 years ago, I was in a partnership where um, I had to end up setting boundaries as far as the other partner. And what I realized is that I was allowing the other person to pass my boundaries because we had been in business so long. So, I just kept allowing them to go past the boundaries that I set. But then I realized, like, man, this is like damaging me. This is damaging, my family. So I had to end up walking away. So now for me, I just don't allow other people to go past those boundaries that I set.
Yeah, I realized that working with, family or friends or whatever, I don't have a difficult time only because I realized that they were actually rooting for me. They were actually, so they kind of stand back and they kind of watch what I do and then they follow suit. And the biggest reason why, this is my interpretation. The biggest reason is because for whatever reason people think that I'm always having fun. They don't realize that it's work. Like I'm really working here, but they just think because of the atmosphere that I'm having fun. I'm exhausted. I go there, I'm putting on a smile. I have to like rev myself up and they think that I'm actually having fun all the time. But because they see the final project of it all, they don't see all the pre-planning and everything. They don't see poster stuff. There's a few that do that, but they kind of allow me to kind of do my thing and then they try to mimic that or they allow me to lead. So I've been very, and I just realized that I've been very blessed in that instant. And if it's a no, like I'll just tell them, no, you can't come with me on this one because I got to work. And but I did have, I went to, I had a thing that I wanted to review. I was completely shocked that I was able to get in because it was a sold out show. It was a Japanese artist. And so I decided to interview one of my children because that's the reason why I was at this particular event. And I'm interviewing her, and my other child tries to like interrupt, and she wanted me to stop. So I had to pull my mommy card. Whereas in normally it's like, but she's doing it like, oh mom, we gotta go. You can't just be standing here trying to interview you or whatever. And I had to stop her and look at her and say, I'm working right now, you know? So it's normally that's a one-off. That's a one-off, really, really is a one-off. Never happens with friends or anything or family members. But a lot of people just kind of stand back and they just kind of watch me work because they're really interested. They're really interested. So I've had good experience with that. But Antoine, if I ever need your help on when to cut some cords and be tapping you, knocking on the door. Somebody got to go. How do I do it? Somebody got to go. You know?
Go ahead, Jen, if you have something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, oh yeah, it's nowhere near what the business side is, and it's actually really funny, because I'm just as Peggy knows, completed like a few week, really intense, all day, 5 day a week pain program, and a lot of it was very sort of different than what a lot of things were. But one of the things we were talking about, right, is like our value set and how we apply the spoons of our energy, and and how we cope with chronic pain and all of these kinds of things. And I was like, yeah, why can I do like all of this in the business side, but then on the personal side, it's like, I've got two big strapping teenage boys, hubby, and I can't say, oh, by the way, could you lift that laundry up and put it in the washing machine because I don't have to bend over? No, I can't do that, right? But I could do all, put the boundaries in place on the other side. So it came to a huge kind of self-realization, right? It's funny timing. That, oh my goodness, especially, yeah, I need to. So it's something I've become drastically more aware of, and I think a lot of my boundary energy maybe has been put in the business side, and it's just been that's my excuse anyway, right? Especially with my youngest, he runs. I had a lot of boundaries with my first son. My second son, he just runs circles. Like he would buy and sell you all day long. There's nobody putting any boundaries around him. Good luck to you trying. But yeah. Anyway,
I can relate to that, Jennifer, as well. I feel like, you get to that point as you're having children that eventually there is no there's no boundaries left. But I will say this, I feel very fortunate that as we're talking about boundaries, and now this isn't the exact topic of what we're talking about here, but the sort of invisible boundaries that are created by roles. And I think someone had mentioned that in the chat in the room here as well, where it's like we're working together, so we're working relationship, and we're family, so we're family relationship. And I feel both equally blessed and challenged by the fact that there are many blurred boundaries in my life. I've become very good friends with clients, with partners. I've become had business relationships with family and with close friends, people that and vice versa. But I think no, in any given situation, whether the boundaries, the lines are blurred or not, I realized for myself that I always struggled in not wanting to be the bad guy. I don't want to have to be the one to tell somebody, this is what we will not be doing. And what I had to do for myself was realize that myself and a lot of people, I think, associate boundaries with punishment, distance, or coldness. But I had to learn that healthy boundaries are often what allow things like warmth and consistency and longevity. And without them, there's this sort of resentment that can start to build, and things start to pile up because you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to be that person. And so the more that I lean into boundaries as care and not rejection, the easier it gets. And that doesn't mean that it's easy. So it's an as you go, moment to moment kind of processing that is really hard sometimes, especially I feel like the more you care, the more I care, the harder it can be. But to think of the boundary itself as care, I think is a good step in the right direction. I was talking to myself too, so you know.
I'll let
Yeah,
someone else start. I'll let someone else start.
I want to say just real quick is that I was redoing a pitch deck, and I had to include pricing. And so, normally you work with a range. Like there's a range, and then it's packaged separately and it's phased separately in my offer. And I kept asking myself, like, why is there a range? Why isn't there just not like a price? Because I don't have an answer. Because if someone looked at it and they would go, well, what makes it this price? And then what makes it that price? And I could say, oh, venue size. I could say the capacity for, your staff capacity. If I have to, write some standard operation procedures, or, I could do all of that. But then I thought, no, it would be better for me to do a starting point, like a base. Like this is a base, and then go up from there. But I did have to ask. I have these pricing conversations all the time with myself, because I still don't know. I don't know. Rent's due, been due. And at least want to eat, rent, eat, maybe put some gas in the car. I realize that that's going a little bit far, trying to put gas in the car. I realize that. But yeah, as far as like, I had to settle on being very, very exact, because I like that. When I'm always going back to, what do I like? What if somebody approached me and say, oh, it ranges from this to that? I'll go, okay, so can I get the low end? Like, of course I'm gonna go, want to pay that. So, but if they say, hey, it costs this, this is the price for this, and then offering something of value that that they can get some value of it, and it's not the higher end cost, but at least I'm helping them. I'm able to help them, but letting them know, hey, if you really want some really good things, for your organization that I can do for you, of course it's definitely going to cost a little bit more, because everybody else is doing it. everybody else is doing it. And so I had to say, this is my price. This is definitely, and I think I got that from Peggy. Peggy is very much like, you know what? She don't play around with her price. She's like, this is. Yeah, I do also have a story before I became like really went into entrepreneurship and business. I had a very, very good friend, and she offered her services. She was an accountant. She did a lot of taxes for people, and I would check up on her, you know, around tax season. And I realized she would tell me stories about people who were getting all this amount of money back, but they were not paying her. And I couldn't understand why. I was, well, are you telling them, you know, what your services cost? And she's like, oh, well, you know, she would him and haw about her. And, you know, I would say, no, you gotta, and then you also gotta get paid from certain people, you gotta get paid up front, you know, or you have to write down a contract or something like that. You just can't. But for whatever reason, she could never do it. And the only reason why I think that is because she felt either she wasn't worth it or she owed people something. I wasn't sure, but I could not understand why she would allow herself to provide a service and not get paid for it. And that filled me with such anger, you know, because I felt like she was telling herself, you're not worth it. You know, your time is it's not worth the money. So yeah, that's the story.
Well, I was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jessica. Go.
No,
Go.
no,
Go.
Jen,
No,
Jen,
no.
go ahead.
Go. Go.
Your turn.
I was just going to say off the back of, thank you, Jessica, off the back of what you were saying there, Monique, an exercise that I would have ran with clients many moons ago in the consultancy, because a lot of people struggle with pricing, especially when it comes to service providers, but also, like you said, creatives, right? Because you're so, it's, they very much view it as an extension of themselves. And rightly, a lot of times it does tie back into things around self-worth and things like this. And the lack of boundary and the value that we have for ourselves and the talent, the skills, the ideas, the experiences that we bring to the table, right? Um, but is to change that. So rather than sit and figure out, well, how do I price my service X, Y, and Z? Sit and say to yourself, if this was my bestie sitting across from me, how would I be telling them to price it? So when we deflect it away from ourselves, it doesn't solve all of the things, right? But it does help remove that initial like, ugh, that we feel sometimes when we think about pricing ourselves. Because even if we have great self-worth, but we're going, right, well, this isn't me that's being priced. It's actually the X, Y, Z service or product, or yes, it's artwork or whatever it might be. But that's not me as, you know, a human being. That's not my soul being priced there. So there is, it's trying to again, that's a boundary, right? Knowing that exists, that there is a boundary between you and your business, no matter how much you put in your business of yourself, there is a boundary, you know, and should be a boundary there. But that little exercise can be helpful.
That's the real mic drop moment right there. We all have an activity to do now. Time to go. I think I really appreciated what Monique was saying about directness, because one of the things that irks me beyond belief in business is when you have a service that you're interested in and you go to the website and you're like, oh, I can't wait to learn about this service. And then in order to find out the pricing, you have to book a call, you have to sacrifice your firstborn child, you have to do all of this stuff in order to just tell me what the pricing is. Tell me what the price is. And so I really have learned, to, from that aspect, not to be shy about putting my pricing out there, regardless of the discomfort I might feel in doing it. But I had a very, very hard lesson to learn earlier this year about what happens when when you don't have a clear directness about your pricing and or the way that the pricing works. Because what I found the hard way is that if you give this leeway, if you're wishy-washy about your finances, people will take that and they will run with it, and they will find 50 other ways that they can take advantage of you and your good pricing and your good nature and any of that stuff. And so the hard lesson this year really had me be very clear about being clear about my pricing, but also, um, being strengthened in why things are priced that way, because I work really hard, because I do have the experience, and learning to give that credit back to myself, I think is a big part. And I'm very much work in progress on this question. But once you learn something the hard way, it's kind of like, okay, again, we will not be doing that again.
So I have multiple products, and I'm assuming you're speaking about my CRM. But I also have a business accelerator program. And what I realized is I got to a point in my business where I was really stuck. And I couldn't really figure out why I couldn't progress along. And I realized that I didn't have a great framework to actually make it go and to follow. So I started living and breathing the framework and also offering my products through the same thing, right? So my pricing is based on the framework, which is a boundary. So if you're in, the proof and validation phase of your business, there's a boundary. This is what you're gonna actually learn during this program, and this is the cost. It doesn't expand to phase two. So I will say that once I realized that I needed a proper framework to actually run my business, and then I started offering my products the same way and services, I didn't have as all of the problems that I previously had with pricing. So that was very helpful for me.
Okay, I will choose the latter question. What would I tell myself before? That boundaries are part of creating experiences for people. It doesn't. It's hand in hand with all of the yummy things that come with making a wonderful experience for someone. And boundaries, like I said before, boundaries are another form of care. And so I would completely flip my past thinking about it.
Yeah, I would for sure say sort of similar, right? To my younger self, to learn to be more respectfully selfish. But we'll also own up and say that one thing, boundary that I'm still very much working on is actually the time container, because I like to overstep my own boundaries sometimes, right? And that is like, oh, I love this project. I do not want to stop working on this. I've got so, yeah, especially when we're in creative flow, or when we're creating a product, even Antoine are doing something, we're like in the flow, in that flow state. And we're like, no, I don't need to eat. That's okay. I'm just gonna keep going. So yeah, that's hands up, still a bit of a work in progress.
I'm going to take that latter question too. What more so because I forgot the first part of it. But what would I tell my younger self? I would definitely tell younger Monique to become much more disciplined, because the more disciplined you are, the more you will recognize the boundaries that you need to set. And because I did not, have that kind of discipline, I'm still working on discipline, but I would definitely tell her, make sure that you're becoming more disciplined.
I will say that set boundaries early, and then also set boundaries for yourself and also your partners. And that kind of like leads to a post that I did on LinkedIn today. I said that, business owners have a lot of external obstacles, but a lot of people don't realize that they may be an obstacle themselves. So, just setting boundaries for yourself is very important.